Welcome to the Borderless Podcast, your guide to traveling, investing, and living beyond borders, where we talk about living the life that you want to live, where you want to live it. From beautiful San Miguel de Allende, smack in the middle of Mexico, with your hosts, Jonathan Lockwood and James Guzman.
Welcome to the Borderless Podcast, traveling, investing, and living beyond borders. This podcast, like others, aims to help you improve your life. But instead of limiting those improvements to the traditional possibilities, we also want to help you break through your borders, if that's something you're looking to do. Many of those borders are psychological, sometimes they're geographical. So we talk about the idea of relocating to other countries, having location-independent businesses, finding more self-reliance, and using technologies and networks to help you in that process. We broadcast from a recording studio at the Borderless compound nestled in the high desert of central Mexico, in what many world travelers and travel writers often consider one of the best cities in the world, San Miguel de Allende. I'm Jonathan Lockwood, and I'm here with James Guzman. Hey, James.
Hey, Jonathan. How are you doing today?
Doing great, doing great. There was a concert last night that you mentioned.
Yep.
Who was that?
Camila. I'm not sure if a lot of people know, but it's a Spanish kind of rock group that's very popular, and they actually had a free concert out here in the center of town. So
yeah, I noticed them setting that up. I didn't know who it was for, and then you mentioned that on podcast. You thought it was going to be nuts. So she's fairly popular then.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh. Yeah, they had the lights and the big stage right in front of the parroquia. So I'm sure that was pretty cool. I didn't make it down there, but yeah, it was a big deal.
Well, there's going to be a lot of that in the next couple of months here. It's getting into festival season. So we're going to see a lot of jam-packed streets here in San Miguel de Allende. It's not only a huge expat town, there's a lot of tourism that goes on here, but probably more from within Mexico than outside of Mexico. So it fills up. It's kind of a special place for Mexicans. They like to come here and learn about the history as one of the early colonial cities.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, a lot of great terraces because of the weather. It's kind of not too hot that you can sit on our terrace and have a good time. And luckily, you know, we're out probably 15 minutes outside of Centro, so it's we still have a very kind of tranquil environment here. And if we want to go to the hustle and bustle of Centro, it's only 15 minutes away, so that's good.
And with my recording, I absolutely have to be in a more quiet place because of the fireworks and the church bells going off all the time. Yep. My booth just doesn't keep it all out. Yeah. So anyway, glad to be out here in Los Frailes. So our guest today on the Borderless Podcast is Greg Bugiak of Invest Formosa. Greg Bugiak was born in Canada in 1963, now lives in Taiwan, and is sole owner of Invest Formosa, which aims to provide a portal for like-minded individuals in these times of change and information to help form a more realistic view of what's going on in the world. Invest Formosa encourages people to consider both financial experts and geopolitical occurrences in order to come into a harmonized understanding. In addition to providing information, they also provide solutions such as options to relocate to Taiwan with family or invest in Taiwan, or options to purchase gold and silver and store securely in Asia. Greg has traveled to over 20 countries and also teaches university students English proficiency classes and tests for students to study abroad in Western universities for master's and PhD programs. So Greg, tell us about your situation. At some point, you were living there in Canada, and at some point you took on a more international view of the world. When did that all begin for you?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. I think for me, I think it was actually in the 1990s. Like I used to work for Shell Oil, and I used to be like a steam engineer, and I used to have a lot of time, and of course I had money, and I would start traveling. So I'd take about 3 months and I'd be traveling, and of course I'd go someplace warm like Asia and Thailand. And I really developed a love for Thailand, so I started to go there in the 1990s. And, it was just very enjoyable. It was a different way of seeing life. I'd been to the Philippines, and I saw, how America had pretty much destroyed that, American imperialism, in the 1990s. I could never imagine, what I saw there. And, I never read that in a history book, or nobody ever told me, the state of how basically the Philippines was. And that really opened my eyes, as far as seeing, maybe the world a little different way, to get out beyond Canada and, my own little world. And, I was just a simple white boy, and that really sort of influenced me when I went back to Canada.
Okay. So you first went to Thailand. That was your first serious relocation, correct?
Well, just to go and look and check it out. Like I knew in my mind, back then, like I really didn't like Canada, and a lot of it had to do because of the weather. I mean, Jesus, Canada's so damn cold, and you got 5 months of bad weather, and then you got mosquitoes in the summertime that are so big they could breed with sparrows. And I thought there's got to be something more to life than this. So my reason was I just didn't like the environment for Canada, that's for sure.
So you had a fishing and diving company in Thailand, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And how long did that last? Was it successful? How do you feel about that?
Well, that's another interesting thing. Like when I left Shell, I took an early retirement package, and I actually went back to university for 4 years in my 30s. So after I got my university degree, I sort of sold absolutely everything. And then I moved to Thailand. But what happened was I had like a 1 year open-ended ticket. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to go to Thailand and then Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, Tibet, Indonesia, and then back to Canada for 1 year. And then I wanted to get another ticket to go to Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, all the way around, and then sort of like pick the place I wanted to live, go and feel the place out, basically. And then when I was in Thailand, what happened was there was like the Black Monday in 2000, and I lost about $80,000. Right. Dad gave me a call and said, "Hey, you lost some money. Are you coming back to Canada?" And I said, "Well, hell no, I'm not going backwards." So what I did is I sort of decided to stay in Thailand because I knew Thailand very well. I was here before. And so I don't know, fate happened. I just got into some people, and I went and did my dive masters here. And I thought, Jesus, dive master, if I got to do that here, I'm going to die because it's so, dangerous around here. So I opened a deep sea fishing company and a dive company, and it worked out quite well for the time, but it was still kind of seasonal. I mean, you could make money maybe 4 months out of the year, and then, the rest of the year you had to do something. You either had to, leave Thailand and go somewhere else and work or something like that. And then what happened was the tsunami. We had the tsunami happen in 2004. I think you guys are aware of that. We had the earthquake in Indonesia, and then we had a tsunami in Thailand. And, I witnessed that with my own eyes. I mean, that was just a very surreal day for me. And I lost 6 friends in that. And wow. I think that changed my life too, because we got involved with that. I mean, that's another story I don't really want to get into, but I think that was really like a marker that, sort of changed my life. And it sort of told me that my dream in Thailand's over, and it's, time to let go of that. And, Taiwan, I went to Taiwan. I was teaching in Taiwan. Between working, I would work 5 months in Thailand with my business, and then I'd spend 7 months teaching in Taiwan. And then once, all of this stuff happened in Thailand, I just started staying in, Taiwan. And then, all of a sudden, here I am. I mean, that's another story when I got here as well, to where it puts me here today.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's pretty cool. So you had some savings, you started out, and then you started, these businesses. And then to supplement that, you taught English. I think that's an option that a lot of people have, especially out in Asia. I hear that, passing the TEFL course and then becoming an English teacher, isn't that, it's pretty a good way to kind of supplement your income when you're getting started in another country.
Well, yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I think that's one thing that I think Taiwan does for, compared to a lot of other countries. Now, I can just speak for Asia. I don't know, what the situation really is out at your neck of the woods, but I think one of the best countries to actually teach English is actually Taiwan. I mean, if you want to compare, like, say, Korea and Japan and other countries around here, like even Thailand. Thailand was, man, I mean, it's not organized, it's not civilized, and they don't pay enough money, and you would never be able to make it there really to save money. To live there, I mean, it's cheap to live there, but you would never be able to make money. And if you run into a problem, like if you're sick or something happens and you want to fly back to your country, it would be very difficult to, make that happen. But Taiwan is actually quite good because you get paid a lot of money. The standard of living is quite low. And, there's lots of job opportunities. I mean, it's crazy here. I mean, it's like the 1970s where you could quit a job today and start another one tomorrow. And that's still prevalent here right now.
All right. Yeah. So I think a lot of people might be interested in doing that, at least, getting started with teaching English. How would you recommend someone if they're, if they have no experience in the teaching English field, how would they get started doing something like that in another country?
Well, I mean, that's another interesting question. I think the thing is, it depends if you have a university degree. I mean, if you have a university degree, it's easy. You can just get a visa from your country of where you live, and you can come in here and you can get a 2 or 3 month visa, and then it's just a matter of going and pounding the pavement. You could set something up ahead of time before you come to Taiwan. And it's easy too, because, we've got websites. Even on our website, we have websites that people can go in there and, like TLET, Dave's Internet Cafe. These are all websites for foreigners to go in there and source out jobs. And it gives all the information, all the contact, and they can start that way. And then they can come into Taiwan and, they're on their own. They can just go and pound the pavement. And if they have a real legitimate university degree. It doesn't have to be an education degree. It just needs to be a 4-year university degree. Yep. And voila, they can set it up. You sign a contract, you get a health check. All of this can be done within a month to 6 weeks, and bang, then you've got a job. You get an ARC with your work permit, and then you stay as long as you want. Every year your work permit and ARC gets redone. So there for 1 year, you don't have to leave the country. Unlike other countries like Thailand, leave every 3 months. So everything's well organized. And if you don't have a university degree, I don't want to say this, but you can go to a place like Thailand, Koh San Road. You can pick up a fake one. And I know I don't promote that, but I would say 25% of the people that come into Taiwan maybe have a fake degree, and they checked out because there's so many banned schools here that it costs them money to check them out. If you go to a government school, or if you want to teach in a university, they'll check them out. Yeah. But they don't check them out. So.
Go to www.davesfakediploma.com for more information.
Well, no, you mentioned some websites before that. Would you mind saying those websites and, the ones that people should get started with?
Okay, well, one of them is www.tlet.com. So TEA and then LIT.com.
Okay.
And then the others is Dave's Internet Cafe.
Dave's Internet Cafe.com. All right.
And there's another one called Formosa. Yeah, and these are. I mean, what I'll do is I'll definitely I'll send a follow up.
Send them over, and I'll include them in the show notes. How much do you think, just out of curiosity, really quick, how much could a person expect to make per hour teaching English in Taiwan?
Okay, well, I mean, per hour. Okay, so in U.S. dollar, it would probably be no less than $20 an hour.
All right,
really,
it's a good start.
Yeah, no. That's really good. And I mean, a lot of people can work like 25 to, 30 hours a week. I mean, that's good money. And it's only 6% tax here.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear me? It's 6% tax. What do you mean? Income tax?
You work, you have to pay 6% tax because you have a work permit and you have an ARC, and they tax you when you make the money. So every month you get paid on the 10th of the month, and, bang, they'll take 6% tax off.
Is that it? That's an income tax or something?
That's exactly right. That's called income tax.
That's pretty good. Are there not other taxes that we're missing?
Not at all. If it's a business, if you own a business, it's no more than 17% tax. That's it.
Wow. Well, that's pretty good. That's good information. A lot of people, virtually every week here, somebody that we have on, Greg, talks about Thailand, and there are lots of Americans pouring into Chiang Mai and everything. So we hear a lot about it. It sounds like a very exciting place. But now you're giving us the perspective of somebody who is, now a middle-aged person, and you're saying there are some things about Thailand that some people might not like, right?
Well, I mean, like I said, I've lived there, from 2000, and I stopped going, running my business in Phuket around 2008. There's good and bad about Thailand. Jesus, if you're going there to travel, that's one thing compared to living in Thailand. Mm-hmm. Living and traveling in Thailand's another thing. And, I don't have to tell you, most of your, listeners, they've heard of Thailand, they've been to Thailand, and they know all the beautiful things. But when you live there and you've got to, run a business like I did there, it's a lot different. You get to deal with the real Thailand, and the banking system is a little bit iffy. There's a saying in Thailand that if you want a big fortune, or you want to make a small fortune, you have to start out with a bigger fortune.
Okay. I don't know if I get that one, but okay. So what else might a person beware about living in Thailand?
Well, like one of the things is when you set up a business in Thailand, and most people, their options are, you can be a teacher there. And I think that's a place you don't want to be a teacher, because, the environment and the hours and the way, Thailand's just not organized, especially if you're away from Bangkok. If you're in Bangkok teaching, that's different, but then it's more expensive to live in Bangkok. Mm-hmm. But, to answer your question about getting set up there, like if you set up a business there, the problem is the rules change, and the way the visas are set up with businesses, and there's certain kinds of businesses where they really regulate you a little bit more. And there's this thing called key money. Key money is where they open doors, and you never know. You might have to pay money. You might have to pay officials to keep things moving. And if these officials change, then the rules change. And if there's anything that changes and there's a problem, well, you pay.
Wow.
That's how
I am indignant over that. We live in Mexico, and we have never heard of such a thing. I'm just kidding. But this is good information. Why don't you do this for us? So, what can you give us an idea what the cost of living is like if you've been away for so long? But are you able to compare the cost of living in Taiwan with the U.S.?
Well, to rent a house here, and I think a nice, decent house would be like maybe $300 to $400 a month.
All right.
Good.
That would be. It depends where you live. Like if you live in Taipei, it might be a little bit more expensive. But I live on the east coast of Taiwan, which is maybe the most beautiful area, where Yilan, Wally, and Taidong. And there's smaller places where there's less than 100,000 in the cities. Like the place I'm in is 60,000. And you can rent a 3-story house, concrete, everything, for around $350.
Well, that's good. What about eating out? Groceries, or transportation, all this type of stuff.
Okay, well, as far as like eating out and grocery, like Taiwan's one of these countries that can feed itself, and it's an all-year growing season. They grow their own rice; they don't have to import that. They grow 100 different kinds of vegetables, over 30 to 40 different kinds of fruit. So there's these things are so cheap. And I would say where I live, about 40 to 50% of the people are directly involved in some kind of farming. So people grow their own things. It's not like Canada, where less than 5% of the people produce all the food.
Very interesting. What about beef? Tell me, just as an example, how about beef and chicken?
Well, beef is a little bit more expensive because, I don't have to tell you that beef is probably the most expensive and, the most environmentally, not a good thing. But beef here is expensive because they don't really do as much beef. But the chicken is actually, it's very, very cheap. And seafood, my God, I live right, 20 minutes from the coastline, and we got the best place called Suao for seafood. Like you can get unbelievable jumbo prawns for like $1 a prawn. It cost you like $4 in Canada, and you couldn't get it fresh like that.
Right. Fantastic.
So the beef is a little bit more expensive because they have to import the beef. But pork, they have their own pork, they have their own chicken, and it's, I would say, maybe 40-50% cheaper than Canada.
Okay, very good. Well, this is good information. And, Greg, you and I are approximately the same age, but there are a lot of listeners of the Borderless podcast who are maybe in their 20s or their early 30s. Give us an idea about what nightlife is like there, what it's like to meet girls and guys and things like that. Is there fun to be had in Taiwan?
I mean, the nightlife is good here. I mean, Taipei it's like out of all the countries I've ever been to and all the cities I've ever been to, I've never really seen a city like Taipei. Like if we take Vancouver and Toronto and mix it together, I still do not think it offers what Taipei does. And, we got one of the best subways in the world. The nightlife, we got night markets here there's no question that they're the best in Asia. Like when I went to Thailand, I thought, oh my God, Thailand's an amazing place for night markets. The food there, I still like Thai food the best, but the night markets here in Taiwan are second to none. They're organized, they're cleaner, and they're everywhere.
We're talking with Greg Bugiak of Invest Formosa on the Borderless podcast. Greg is originally from Canada, has traveled to 20 countries, lived in Thailand, now lives in Taiwan, has a lot of great things to say about it. But we're going to get back to him in just a little bit with some more color on Taiwan. But we need to give some attention to our sponsor. Today's Borderless podcast is brought to you by the Condescending Group, an online happy place for those who prefer tingly group validation over boring objective reality. The Condescending Group has really perfected the art of quieting your brain to facts and instead allowing the pleasant distractions of a utopian woo-woo world to help you look down on those who live in the quote-unquote real world. There are literally thousands of YouTube videos and blog posts about a different approach than we take at the Borderless podcast. Whether it's yoga poses, dramatic poetry readings, acid soul awakening retreats, or the best wine and cheese bitch fests you've ever seen, the Condescending Group is there to help you poop on others and feel better about yourself. Go to thecondescendinggroup.com for this week's forum post about the difference between Moonbeam and Soul Catcher fairies. There are at this time 742 comments. The Condescending Group, they care more than you. All right, we're back with our guest, Greg Bugiak of Invest Formosa. He's coming to us from Taiwan right now. So, Greg, you've had quite a spin here. You've been all over the world. You've lived in foreign countries. You've tried a bunch of different types of employment. And now you have something called Invest Formosa. And as I look at your website, it's clear that you believe in gold and silver. Are we right in assuming that?
Yeah, I'm a great big silver bug indeed.
Okay. And why is it that you love to talk about silver even more than gold?
I think one of the most important things, I think for me anyway, is to understand why silver is maybe one of the best investments right now, especially, is simply, I think people really have to understand what money is and what it's not. And I think a lot of people, a lot of professional people, they don't really understand the history of money. And I think for me, this is one thing that I feel lucky that I did, was to educate myself about money, about going back about 5,000 years and understanding about gold and silver and copper and how things are measured by weight, and understanding, money was first created, paper money was first created by the Chinese, in 500 AD. And they were the first country in the world to actually hyperinflate it around 1100. And, understanding that every single currency, paper currency, fiat that has ever been printed on this planet at any time in any place has always hyperinflated and has gone to zero. And every single time, gold and silver has been set for the standard. Every time.
All right. And you offer services for storing silver or gold there in Taiwan?
We have a special thing, like a platform. And what people do, they become trading members. And, on our website, they can buy gold and silver. And, they can buy small amounts, large amounts. And they have to be a trading member first to sign up. And what we do is, they have the option to, take it back to their country. But the unique thing that we do is we have storage facilities here in Hong Kong, tax free, of course. I mean, gold and silver is all tax free, and of course here in Taiwan. In Taiwan, we have Brinks. In Hong Kong, we have a company called VMOT. I'm not sure if you know these, but these are all international vaulting companies, the two biggest in the world. So when people want to buy gold or silver, what we do is we store them in our vaults, and they're like numbered. So we have a vault, and people who wants to sort of buy and store with us, they become a number. So it sort of allows them to, sort of shelter themselves from, say if you're an American, you can sort of, buy gold and silver with us, and you can put it into a vault. It's a numbered vault. And of course, it's not a bank, so we don't have to deal with FACTA. You know what FACTA is. Okay. So we can save them so that they don't have to pay tax. They can sort of hide it for themselves. And, whenever they want it, then we can switch it back because we can buy it back, or they can trade amongst our members. It will, cost them about 1%, and we can switch it into whatever currency they want. Okay. Now in Taiwan, it's kind of an interesting thing because Taiwan is maybe one of the only countries besides Hong Kong that individual people can have RMB accounts. So if anybody wants to come to Taiwan, you can have an RMB account, and you can have any account you want if you set up a business. But if you are a trading center member, we can switch it to whatever currency you want, whatever bank account you want, all legal, all no problem. And of course, no paper trail.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah. So you've got gold, silver, and all different types of currencies that you can store there and trade within the members. That's a great diversifying option, not just outside of the Western world, but also amongst the currencies and precious metals. And it sounds like it's allocated, right? You have allocated precious metals.
That's right. Absolutely. And whatever's yours. And the thing is, on our trading account, you can go in 24/7. You have your own ID and you can go and see what you have in your vault. It's all there. All of it's set up, the size, the weight, everything that you buy is all there. The date you bought it, everything. If you want to move it, we can move it. Everything's all within 3 days. However you want to do it. You want to buy more, you can top up your account, whatever kind of currency you want.
And can you buy, you say you can buy a lot or a little. Are you able to buy little fractional, like 10th ounce coins, things like that?
Well, absolutely. You can go on our website and you can buy like they're called tassels, and you can buy like less than an ounce. It's like you can buy a quarter of an ounce, a half an ounce, 1 ounce. You can buy 1 kg. Hell, you can buy a 100-ounce bar if you want.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So you've got lots of options. Many of the same options we're used to seeing here.
Yeah, the price is very reasonable too. If you can see that, I mean, we're not high. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's good. So, what other things are you putting together with the Invest Formosa company?
Okay. Well, I mean, what we do, that's only one part of what we do. Is like we help people move their assets out of the country, and of course, we believe it's the best investment. So, I mean, we help them, switch over their assets from the country, put it in gold and silver, put it in vaults, and, it's resting there. They can touch it anytime they want, away from, greedy government hands and stuff like that. But I mean, one of the main things we do is we help people use Taiwan as a safe haven because, again, Taiwan is a kind of a special country in a sense that it's one of the few countries where a foreigner can come into Taiwan, and within 6 weeks and less than $2,000, they can set up their own company 100% in their name.
Not bad. Okay. And you say the top business tax bracket or something like that is 17%?
That's right. Well, I mean, here's the thing is, so what we do is we have different options for people. If somebody wants to just come in and set up a company and maybe they don't want to run a business or something, it's like a shell company. So they have to set up a company And this company will allow them to have an ARC work permit. So that allows them to get, health care. That allows them to get a driver's license, personal bank account, business bank account. And it allows them all the amenities here. They can actually buy a house here in their own name. They can't own the land, but they buy the house. So it's in their own name. They can have it. They can sell it. They can do whatever they want. And then what they can do is, they can stay here as long as they want. They don't have to leave. They can stay here. They can use it as a hub. They don't even have to live here. And they would have this thing continuous. Now, here's the problem. If somebody just wants to set up a company and run a business, then that is no problem. Then what they have to do is they have to have a legitimate business. It goes through the government. All we do is we link them to we have a lawyer / accounting firm that sets up all the paperwork. We don't do all of that because the individual that comes in here, everything's in their name. Everything has to be legitimate. They have to deal with the government. They have to set up the bank accounts. Everything is in their name. They must know where they stand. They must know all the rules. Once this is all set up, then what they can do is if they want a legitimate business, then they have to have a business plan, like most other places. And what they need to do, in short, they have to make about $100,000 a year, and they have to pay 17% tax on that. So basically, all they want, even if you don't make the $100,000 a year, they just want the tax on the 17% of that.
Oh, I see. All right. Well, that's interesting. And I guess, that's a great option to at least check out, to talk to you guys. If you're thinking about, incorporating your business somewhere in Asia, then Taiwan might be a good option. So, I wanted to talk to you about this guy, Chris Mills. I mean, he contacted you through the Borderless Network Facebook group, and I think he went down and visited you for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, he was down here about 2 weeks ago. He was here for about 3 weeks, and he spent some time in Taipei, and then he went to the East Coast. He wanted to know where to go, so I sent him along the East Coast, which is basically the best part of Taiwan, nice and quiet, and it's maybe one of the best coastlines in the world, except for maybe New Zealand, and of course, I'm sure other countries will argue that, but. So he did that, and then he came to stay with me here in Elan. He stayed right at my place, stayed for about a week, and he rented a bike, and I took him everywhere. I took him to along the coast. We took a trip every day. We went into the mountains, waterfalls. We went to different beaches, different kinds of food, and just for him to take a look. I took him to a piece of land that I'll be buying and setting up a homestay. So we got a chance to see that, lakes and that, and just get a good feeling for the people. Took him to the markets. And so he really enjoyed himself. And he told me he was going to come back maybe October, November, and, maybe, have Taiwan in his plans in some way.
Great. So he really, he enjoyed Taiwan then. That's good.
Okay. So some of the options that you offer, we notice on Invest Formosa also, one of them is Safe Haven. You call it Move Your Family and Start a New Life. How is it that you help people with that?
Well, I mean, we just talked about like one of the options of setting up a business. Now, the other thing, like what we do is, let's say if somebody, from, say America or Europe or wherever, I mean, we have people that are coming here from France. We have a Canadian coming. We actually have 2 Americans coming here in the, maybe all the way up till September that are, thinking about relocating here. And what we do, no matter what, I mean, people can come in here with no money and they can teach, and we help them do that. Like we give them all the information to do that. One of the next options, cheapest option we do is no matter what, they have to set up a business that costs $2,000. And then what happens is then, they get all the stuff to be in here, like I told you before. But let's say if they just want to start up a business, but they don't want to run the business. So what we do is, like the first option, when somebody sets up a company here, they can bring their wife here. Their wife can automatically come here and stay here. She gets a ARC, which is called alien residency certificate. So she gets a visa to stay in this country as long as she wants. And the children. So if you have as many children as you want, under the age of 23, they can stay in the country as long as they want. So they can all move here just because one person sets up a business. And they can function, they can get health care, they can go to school here and learn Mandarin or, whatever. We have international schools here. We're one of the only places in Asia where they have homeschooling. And this was in 1999, where you can homeschool your kids. But what we do is if people just want to come in here and get in the country, maybe live here 6 months out of the year, they don't want to run a business and they don't want to pay tax, then what they do is they need our company. So what they do is they'll set up a company and they will invest in our company, and our company acts as a holding company. We don't spend the money, we hold it. So they don't pay tax, we don't pay tax. And we have different options. We have like $10,000 options, $25,000, $40,000 options that we offer people. If they want to take one of these options, then they don't have to have a business. They are an investment company that invests into our business. They don't pay any tax until dividends are paid out or something's paid out. So this is where we help them do all of that. And then they can just bring all their family in, do what they want, stay in the country, don't stay in the country, but at least they've got the ARC, they've got all their savings, they've got everything set up.
Okay, so some people may choose not to move to Taiwan or reserve an option to do that in the future, but you purely have this business investment where you're holding this money, it doesn't move. It's not appreciating in it, or is it?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. Now, if you want the minimum option is like the $10,000 option, and that $10,000 that goes to us. You don't get that back. That's where your company will use our company. That $10,000 will be an investment, and that's money we keep. And what that will do is that will allow your company to not pay any tax at all. So you don't have to pay that 17% tax.
Help me out with that. How does that work? So somebody, they want to invest in your company, $10,000 US, non-refundable. I notice there's also a cost, $2,000. So they have to come up with $12,000, right?
That's right.
And then that allows them to move to Taiwan, get that whole process, the 5-year supported process to APRC, and have a business, their own business. And why is it that they don't have to pay taxes on their business?
Okay, well, that's good. So that's the next point. So what happens is for the first 2 years, the government does nothing about that. They don't say anything. Everything's okay. They're fine. And then they'll ask, how come this company's not getting dividends paid out or anything? Because they become basically like an investment company. So what happens is after the 2 years, the government will sort of look at your business and say, okay, well, it's not doing anything. So what are you going to do? So what they do is the accountant firm with the lawyer where their business is set up and our business is set up, what they do is they set up an offshore subsidiary company after 2 years. And that becomes, again, that's another $1,800 after the 2 years. And then what that happens is that sort of moves the company's responsibility of paying tax offshore. And then that doesn't come into Taiwan, and then they don't pay any tax into Taiwan.
Beautiful. All right. And so that would be something that somebody could take advantage of, whether they chose to live in Taiwan or anywhere else in the world.
That's right. And that just does its course. Like I said, there's no obligation to live in Taiwan. Now, another interesting option we have, and it's like $25,000 or $40,000. And this is an option where if somebody invests $25,000 to $40,000 with our company, this $25,000 to $40,000 will go into buying gold or silver. And what we do is we take their money. So let's say they set up the company tomorrow. And so we take that money, we switch that into gold and silver, and we put that into a vault in Hong Kong or Taiwan under their name. So that will be under their numbered account and it stays in their name. They can't take it out. We don't touch it. They don't take it out. We can't take it out. It stays in there for 5 years. This allows them exactly the same options of what I told you, where after 2 years, they still have to put in the $2,000 or less than $2,000, and then they don't have to pay tax on anything. And then what happens is after the 5 years, then what happens is we pay them their initial 40. So we cash out whatever silver is. And of course, we think silver is going to go to the moon by then in 5 years. So whatever the price of silver is today that they bought in, and whatever it is in 5 years, we cash that out if they want, and that original 40,000 goes back to them. That has to come back into Taiwan, and that is what they pay tax on. Then the money made, which we think could be whatever. So let's say they make 100,000. So let's say they make 140,000. 40,000 goes to them. The remaining 100,000, then what happens is that gets split 50-50, and that's our participation rate. And then they get that. That doesn't come into Taiwan. That goes into any account they want outside of Taiwan. They don't pay tax.
All right.
Sounds intriguing. Sounds like nothing I've ever heard of.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute. As far as you're saying, you think that silver is very optimistic about silver. Also, it sounds like you're very optimistic about that kind of the Asian markets in comparison with the United States or some of the Western markets. So, can you talk a little bit about that? I know you have some different blog posts and things like that on the economy and kind of geopolitical situation. So, I guess you think that a lot of these Asian countries, Taiwan, for example, is really set up to take advantage of where the economy is going in the coming decades.
Okay, well, I think there's maybe 3 or 4 things that I think a lot of your listeners are aware of, or I would hope they would be aware of. Is one of the things is, and it all has to do with China. It all has to do with China. And one of the things that if people are watching China, they must understand what's really going on with China. And one of the things China is doing, obviously, they're accumulating gold up the yin-yang. They produce the most amount of gold, and they're getting gold from everywhere. They're going into the gold mines and gold mines, and they're buying up all the mines. They're buying them all up. The price is low for a reason why, because obviously they're keeping the price low. It's not the U.S. If people do a lot of work, they'll see what's going on. But anyway, so what China's doing is they're buying as much gold as you can imagine. Not only that, they're doing these, RMB trade swap agreements. They're with over 30 countries, and these are major countries that are doing trade swap agreements with them for financial, and they're not using U.S. dollar, and people have to ask that question. And there's more and more of that happening every day. So that's another thing that's going on. The other thing that's going on is this thing called the AIIB, and people are aware of that. And this is like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and this basically is the same thing as the World Bank and the IMF combined, only Asian style. And this is all setting itself up for the Silk Road. And if people understand what the ancient Silk Road is, well, basically what will happen is, and you can see this happening if people are reading about what's going on, is basically China will be the center hub. It will link Europe through Germany. Russia will go. The Middle East will go. Also Africa. And it will go through Southeast Asia. I mean, South Korea is already on board. And eventually Japan and Taiwan, who has already set up their own trade agreement, which Taiwan and China are on a special level. I mean, that's another story politically. So Taiwan will directly benefit because they get special treatment because their banks are already linked together. So their banking and investment. So when China is making this thing where they're setting up Silk Road and they're going to use the AIIB to do it, plus they have BRICS, plus they have the Shanghai organization. So all of these organizations are going to support each other. And when this Silk Road gets up and moving, this is going to take up 60% of the world economy that does not use U.S. dollar.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're talking with Greg Bugiak of Invest Formosa on the Borderless podcast. Greg has been living in Taiwan for several years, and he's in touch with not only a lot of reasons why we can see that the world is changing, and in many ways, much is moving from west to east, but also he has a lot of opportunities for you at investtaiwanformosa.com, in which you can get involved in safe haven. You can get involved in taking advantage of certain financial advantages that are available to you in Taiwan. And he's giving us a lot of room for thought here. So, James, do you have anything else you want to talk to Greg about?
Well, Greg, if somebody was thinking about doing this, maybe moving out to Taiwan, doing what you've done, or starting a business out there or somewhere in Asia, what's the best piece of advice that you could give someone kind of just starting out in this path?
I think one of the things, first of all, I think each person in each country has their own basics, their own situation, their own problem. And I think the best thing that I would give anybody, any advice, is you have to do research. You have to do research ahead about whatever country you want to go to. So you want to find out, obviously, about, the government. You want to find out about the history of that country. You want to find out about the economy, the jobs, absolutely everything you can about that country. And then once you know about that country, then the best thing to do is you must go to that country, and you must spend time in that country, and you must feel and taste and smell that country. You must get a feeling for how the people in society work, how they treat the women, how they treat their children, how they treat the elderly, how they treat their prisoners. Take a look at, the food, take a look at everything that's happening, the design, the buildings, the feelings, the smell. And all of this will give you a feeling, and that will let you know. No one can tell you. I cannot tell you. I cannot persuade anybody to do anything that they don't want or they don't feel. You have to come and feel yourself. And that doesn't mean just Taiwan. That's every single country. You have to go and check it out. And you have to do your research. You have to do the background check of it. And then from there, then you know whether you've made a decision or not. That's simple. Whether you're starting a business or moving or investing your money in whatever country, I think these are the things that have to happen. You have to be sure. I think what's happened down in Chile with some players, and people just didn't do their homework. You have to do your homework. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people are thinking about going to Taiwan, the best place to start doing your homework, I would say, is on one of your websites or contacting you. So what can you give out some of your websites or ways that you would like people to contact you if they're interested?
Well, like I said, you can get on our website. We have two of them. We use both of them. One's sort of like our mother site for the information of where it links to all the government sites. It links to so many different websites that give you so much information about Taiwan. This mother website is also a portal for information for economy, geopolitical, and also ecology. We do that here, organic or friendly stuff. And that website is www.investtaiwan and then -formosa.com. That's our mother site. And our other site, where if you want to become, it has a lot of information, but this is where we have the platform for people buying gold and silver. And it also gives a lot of information. It links back to the mother site. And this website is just about the same. It's www.investtaiwanformosa.com. All one word, no hyphen. And, they can take a look. And, of course, we have our Gmail, so you can get in investformosa, at gmail.com. And, we would be more than interested to, field people's questions. We're not here to, sell something and make money. We're here to give information. We're here to help people. There's people that come down here. For Chris, for example, he came down here. It didn't cost him anything, to stay here and check it out. We didn't sell him anything. we told him he has to come and feel it. And, we will give you all the questions. We'll answer all your questions. We'll put you in the right direction. And whatever options you want, maybe you don't use us at all. Maybe you do something else, and we can support that. I mean, we're here to help each other. I mean, James, we talked about this, and we're on the same page with that. We're about helping people too. And if we can make some money, well, that's fine. We need to eat as well.
Thanks so much for that advice. Greg Bugiak of Invest Formosa, thank you for coming on to the Borderless podcast. All right, so I don't know about you, James, but I certainly feel, we're both from the U.S., we live in Mexico, and I've stayed in this general hemisphere. So my personal area of interest has been, Latin America.
Right.
And so I don't think as much about Asia, and yet it's a huge place that people who are interested in living outside of their borders need to take into consideration.
Yeah, I think so. I speak Spanish, and so that's kind of kept me, and I lived in Spain, and now I've been throughout Latin America, and I don't know, I've just been kind of comfortable doing that, but maybe that's the wrong way to go. Maybe I should, get a little outside of my comfort zone and test out Asia. I know, he makes some pretty good arguments economically as far as, that Asia is the next place to be.
Right.
So.
Or at the very least, deal with it here on the podcast so that other people are interested. We've already had one of our Borderless Network members, right? What was his name?
Yeah, so we had Chris Mills that is on the Borderless Network. He contacted him and went down there. It sounded like he had a really good time. And I think a lot of people have been kind of communicating on this on the Facebook group and through our network, and getting together with some of the people that we've had on the podcast. And we've seen several people that have had some good outcomes. People helping them with publishing a book, or going to a new country, all this type of thing. So yeah, it's good to hear.
Yeah, every now and then a friend of mine will send me an email or a Facebook message or something and repeat one of the condescending group commercials, which we really appreciate, because they do pay quite a bit for those. That is the only ad that we have here.
That's right,
condescending group, and we really appreciate that you supporting those fuckers.
And they throw the best parties too. So
they do. The Wine and Cheese Bitch Fests,
right.
Nothing like them. Promise. Yeah. All right. And so what we want you to do now, we say this every week, so let me say it more slowly. No, seriously. There's an opportunity for you to rank us. It's a star thing on iTunes or Stitcher. Review us, leave a little blurb, say what you think about this podcast. Click on subscribe to it. It really doesn't end up doing anything for you. If you have a podcast playing app like I do on my phones, it'll show up in your lineup, and it helps us a little bit. And also you can go to the borderlesspodcast.com, where there's been a change just this past week, right, James?
Oh, yes. So normally, you just want to go there and you go to the button that says Instant Access. And that'll bring you to, if you put your email in there, you'll get an ebook delivered to you, as well as a link to the Borderless Network Facebook group. And I definitely have plans on, growing that in the future. And you'll get all those updates on what we're doing here, which it's actually, growing quite quickly. So, I'd recommend, getting on the mailing list there. And we also have a donate button. If you'd like to support the show, you can, send us a tip or send us some money to try to support some different type of media rather than maybe some of the stuff that you're getting on the mainstream media or other places you see on all over the internet. So we hope that we can bring you some information that you like and that you can support.
All right, and another Borderless podcast coming up soon.
Thanks for joining us for the Borderless Podcast, traveling, investing, and living beyond borders.